every company that has a foundation model sort of believes their model is already the best, and so there's not an incentive from an economic perspective to invest in improving it further with additional data. And there's this is partially because you've got a strategic orientation where companies are competing on sort of the narrative underlying their model and the pedigree of the researchers that have released the model rather than the model performance itself. So I'm interested in your perspective on this dynamic and, what it looks like in the field.
Yeah, I have an insider perspective on this, being on both sides of the table, that is pharma buy side, doing search and evaluation, and also now on the biotech sell side. And, what's funny is I saw a post from Alex, the CEO of InSilico, on LinkedIn, a few weeks back. Now, if you follow Alex, he often offers some really hot takes. And so very interesting guy to follow. But in this case, what he suggested actually makes a lot of sense. And that was, how about if we could create an AI agentic method for doing biopharma BD, right? It's such a wonderful techno-utilitarian view. But, the problem is that biopharma partnering is a marketplace. And, like the economist Richard Thaler pointed out, is that marketplaces are not always rational. It's classic behavioral economics. And so there are so many different aspects at play in any pharma partnering decision that goes well beyond, what is the best model. And we'll talk about how do you even evaluate what is the best model. But, it means that you have to start thinking about, does it fit my strategy? Who is the internal champion? What are their motives? Is there endorsement from the C-suite? Are there pre-existing relationships at play? How might geopolitical issues play into this? That also has a lot to do with it. And so often it's more than just having good data or good models. And it's that story component that really is fundamental if you have a leg up from your competition because of your pedigree, because of your investors, because you have these big names. I mean, this is part of the idea that when VCs are investing, they invest in the jockey and not the horse. And so I think that having a story is really important. Now, the question is, how do search and evaluation folks actually make a decision on who they're going to partner with if they truly want to find the best technical solution? And we could talk about some concepts for that. What are the best frameworks? But in general, I would say that you're limited as of today, and you're often extrapolating on potential, right? So that's what everybody's doing. And, that can really be a situation for these model developers where they might be talking to their board, thinking about the best way to deploy their cash. And they're not sure unless they're in a head-to-head competition with somebody, how do they demonstrate the value of doing additional data generation and having better performance? Certainly a competition would help there, but also it could hurt. And I think there's some risks there. So oftentimes we get trapped in this narrative. I think both sides get trapped in this narrative of thinking that let's do a BD deal. Let's find our pharma partners first, and then we'll invest more into our models if we need to. And I think that in general is a little bit of a break on what would be some additional investments into this field if we did have a more empirical way to evaluate the winners and losers.